Hey there, my name is Chase Sr. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. By the time that this mailbag comes out, I hope all of you are having a fantastic weekend. Coming up, going to open up the floor and talk all things Eagles with our subscribers and real ones. You have questions, I have answers. Speaking of the weekend, Eagles-Broncos going down on Sunday. We'll be live for another watch party. We'll be live for a pregame show in the lead up to kickoff, live for the game, and then live for a postgame reaction as well. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 133,000 subscribers, and you won't regret it when you do lock us in because we're pumping out elite content every single day, year-round, right here on the program. Romeo Talon gets us started with a $20 super chat. And it's a long one here, but he makes some good points. Do we think that the lack of offensive synchrony and execution is due to ineffective offseason prep due to injury or no preseason gameplay to develop the harmony we need to see the birds fly high as we've all seen them and believe that they can? So, Romeo, some big words there, and I'm impressed by the question. You know ball, and I love to see it. And you bring up some very good topics and points here. I think this is always an under-talked about storyline for teams that make it to a Super Bowl, whether they win it or they lose it. It's how quickly the offseason approaches after making a deep playoff run, and how when you make it to a Super Bowl, you barely have any time to get ready for the next year. And let me just break it down here. The NFL has put together a calendar where pretty much it's become an 11-month sport. You have training camp, which starts at the end of July. Preseason starts in early August. The regular season runs from September through January. The playoffs obviously get underway in January. The Super Bowl is early February. And from our coverage standpoint, we went from training camp, preseason, regular season, playoff run. We traveled down to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. We go live for the watch party. Right after that is the NFL Combine. So Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, the Eagles coaching staff, a lot of big members of the staff in the front office, Big Dom included, they immediately have to go to Indianapolis for the scouting combine. And Chip and I, we were barely able to catch our breath just doing our coverage. Imagine what it's like to run an NFL team. Right after the combine, free agency starts in March. Right after that, it's into draft prep, which obviously had been in the process for the last couple of months, and it's ongoing all the time. But the official draft is at the end of April. Right after that, you have rookie minicamp. Then you have OTAs. Then you have mandatory minicamp. And then training camp is here before you know it. So really, there's a month where you can really take time to reset and catch a breath, especially when you make that deep playoff run and you play in a Super Bowl. It's at the end of June into early July. And so I do think that's a factor in the Eagles trying to catch up right now, not looking their best. I'm sure they're a little bit tired. They're trying to knock off some of the cobwebs, and they're trying to build up that stamina because the whole offseason program is impacted by that. Eagles also didn't play in the preseason, as you mentioned, Romeo. And so under Nick Sirianni, they kind of used the first month of the year as that preseason, which is why I think the Eagles are so up and down. Now, they're so good at being able to win these close games late, but they intentionally feel games out to try to find an identity, and then upon doing tape study, they figure out, okay, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Then they do a terrific job of in-season adjustments. And then lastly, to your point, Romeo, why is the offense lacked rhythm? Well, the offensive line has not been good, and that doesn't help. Number two, you do have a new play caller in Kevin Patullo. And obviously the Eagles are running a similar scheme, but Kevin Patullo sees the game differently than Kellen Moore, not as experienced as Kellen Moore. There's a different feel, process, vision, and flow. Obviously, he reacts in-game differently than Kellen Moore. making adjustments differently than Kellen Moore. And so he's trying to find his groove as a play caller. He's a first-time play caller. And I think that's what we've seen so far to start the year. And hopefully I was able to answer your questions there. Outdoor Creations, $5 super chat. Shouldn't we use Will Shipley in the pass game a little bit more? I mean, ideally, yes, but when you have a special player like Saquon Barkley, it's hard to take him off the field. And Saquon has had some lapses as a pass protector this year, but usually he holds up pretty well as a blocker. And so when you have a back who is so special, one of one, like Saquon, who can run it, who can catch it, who can pass protect, and is in such great conditioning, in such great shape, it's hard to take him off the field. But also remember, Will Shipley had a role in week 1, caught that screen pass, nearly scored a touchdown against the Cowboys, injured his oblique and ribs. We didn't see him again until that game against the Buccaneers, and he was used a little bit. I expect him to have a bigger role once he gets healthier, especially in the return game. But it's hard to take Saquon off the field, plus he's been injured, so he's trying to get his body out to a point where he has that level of stamina. But I like him as a player. Definitely explosive. And what I've seen from him, very impressed. Trey Losado, Eagles so far. Who has been the most impressive player on offense and on defense this year? I would say Jordan Mailata on offense. He's legitimately been maybe the best left tackle in the game. He's been so dominant. And he's been on the field more than Lane Johnson. And so I would go Jordan Mailata at left tackle. On defense, who am I most impressed by? He might not be the best player so far. I would probably go with Zach Bond or Jordan Davis. They deserve their flowers. But the player I'm most impressed by because of how good he is this early, it's Jahan Campbell. I think Jahan Campbell has all-pro potential. And I think this Eagles defense right now, they have 4 players who this time next year might all be all-pros. Zach Bond, Jahan Campbell, Cooper DeJean, and Quinyon Mitchell. The fact that Jahan Campbell fell to the Eagles at 31, it's one of those things. You're like, how? How did Nolan Smith fall to the Eagles at 31? How did Jalen Carter fall to the Eagles? How did Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean fall to the Eagles? Sometimes you need some good luck. And obviously the Eagles have had some good luck. But Jahan Campbell was my favorite linebacker in the 2025 class. He was one of the best defenders in college football. He did everything so well. Coverage, stopping the run, as a pass rusher, as a blitzer. And he's done all of that this year. To the point where, for real, Jahan Campbell and Zach Bond have been one of the best linebacking duos already. And so with how good he's been this early, I'd say Jahan Campbell on defense. He's been stellar, and he's exceeded my expectations, and my expectations were high for him. I had said I think that he can start week 1. He started week 1. D. White the Gamer, Broncos fan here. Good luck this Sunday. Thank you, bro. Hoping for a great matchup, as this is a prove-it game for our team. It's a big prove-it game for Denver, and so far they're 2-2. They've beaten 2 bad teams, the Titans and the Bengals. They've lost to 2 playoff-level teams, the Colts and the Chargers. And this Broncos defense, really, really good unit. One of the top defenses in the National Football League. They are number 2 in points per game allowed. They're number 1 in sacks. They're number 1 in quarterback hits. They're number 1 in pressure rate. And so with the way that this Eagles offense has been playing, struggling, unable to put together a full 4 quarters, this is a great test against a legitimate defense to see what this Eagles offense can do against one of the finer units in the NFL. Offensively, the Broncos are running it so well, averaging more than 143 rushing yards per game. That's number 5 in the league. And J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey have been awesome. Bo Nix has kind of disappointed me a little bit. He's kind of just been okay to start the year. But Sean Payton's teams in September are really never that great. They're always better after the first month of the year, kind of like Nick Sirianni's teams. It's almost like good coaches know we want to peak late as compared to early. I will say this about Denver. They're not good on the road. 1-7 in their last 8 road games, whereas the Eagles have won 13 straight games at Lincoln Financial Field. So for all those reasons, I'm expecting a good game. Glad that a Broncos fan is hanging out. Treat them well in the comment section. We're not as bad as what the national media says we are. And good luck on Sunday. Looking forward to it. I think it's one of the better football X's and O's matchups here in Week 5. Speaking of that matchup, who you got? DN for the Broncos, PHI for the Eagles. Get those predictions in right now. We do have a great deal that we want to tell you about thanks to our friends at Fanatics. This Saquon Barkley Salute to Service jersey just dropped right before this show. And they're available right now at chatsports.com/Saquon Service. Now, they're a little pricey, but I think these are incredible. And obviously, thank you to all of our service members, past, current, and in the future, who are serving or will serve our country. I love our country. Greatest nation to live in America, or in the world, excuse me. I love America. God bless America. And so thank you to all of our troops for continuing to keep us safe and making this the freest country in the world. And so if you want to pay your respects to our troops and support our troops, get your Saquon Barkley Salute to Service jerseys. Obviously, the NFL has paired up with the military over the last several years to support our troops. So get your jerseys today. Chatsports.com/Saquon Service. USA. USA. We appreciate and love all of our troops. John Galt, you know what I think the Eagles' biggest problem is right now? Penalties. Look at the first down numbers. We are down by 8 first downs against opponents. We are down 8 first downs by penalties. Yeah, I think at times the penalties have hurt the Eagles. When I watch them, I don't say to myself, man, this is a really sloppy team. I think they're a pretty well-coached team. If anything, it's the unsportsmanlike penalties that have really killed the Eagles, and a lot of those have come on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's taunting. And look, I hate the new emphasis on taunting. I don't think there's an NFL fan out there who cares if Cooper DeJean steps over a Buccaneers wide receiver. I don't think there's a fan out there who cares that Jalen Carter is talking a little bit of smack after blocking that Rams field goal in a huge spot. The intensity levels in the game of football are massive. This game means so much. There's so much that goes into it. These players are putting their literal bodies on the line. Let them celebrate. But you also have to stay and play within the rules, and the Eagles are lucky that these penalties haven't come back to really cost them because they've been kind of idiotic penalties at times based upon the rules. Adam Singleton, a real one here on the show, one of our Super Chat GOATs and MVPs. Hope all is well, my brother. If we keep playing like we do, is it going to be a repeat of 2023? Yes, they are 4-0, but I know playing like this will eventually catch up to us. You guys are real ones. Keep up the badass videos. Thank you, Adam. You're the man. I get why people have reservations about the 2025 Eagles compared to the 2023 Eagles and some of the similarities there. The Eagles in 2023 obviously got off to that 10-1 start. A lot of those wins were fluky. They're off to a 4-0 start. A lot of the wins are kind of fluky, but I think they're hard-earned and they've been clutch, and I think winning is a skill, and they're battle-tested. They have a Teflon type of mindset, and they have a championship pedigree. When you compare 2025 to 2023, I do think this Eagles team is better, right? The defense is more skilled. They have more talent, and they're younger. You think about some of the players who were starting that year. Nicholas Morrow, Kevin Byard, Terrell Edmonds. I mean, there were players, Zach Cunningham. There were players starting on that defense that shouldn't have sniffed the roster, right? James Bradbury was starting at outside corner. And so there's that. This defense is so much more talented. They're the number one defense in the NFL. And we're seeing some young players play great, great football. Like Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Jahan Campbell have all-pro potential. Zach Bond's already an all-pro. Jalen Carter was an all-pro. Jordan Davis this year has played like an all-pro. You do need to get better production from your edge rushers, but Andrew Makuba has potential. Reed Blankenship is really good. So I think the defense will continue to get better. Obviously, on offense, you do have a new play caller, as we talked about a little bit earlier. And that's led to some of the offensive inconsistencies. But I just think this 2025 team is a lot better. Like 2023, worse personnel on defense. You also didn't have Vic Fangio. You had Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. And I think this Eagles offense is just more experienced, better, and I think they can make the necessary adjustments to improve. Say the right, to me, It's the team, the players wanting to put the foot on the gas from start to finish, but coaches are trying to be conservative at moments in the game. And you can see where the coaches are coming from, right? The Eagles, when they win the turnover margin, are something like, under Nick Sirianni, I think 34-2, 34-4 when they win the turnover margin, whatever. They kind of err on the side of caution because they know if we win the turnover battle with our talent, with our coaching, with our execution, with how pinpoint we are on the details, we're going to outlast the opponent. We're going to wear them down. We're going to be like a boa constrictor, and we're going to suffocate them, and we're going to end up winning late. At the same time, though, you can't let the defense, when you're running offense, dictate what you do. You do need to press the issue. You need to be a little bit more aggressive. We saw that in the second half of the Rams game. We saw it in the first half of the Bucs game. Did things carry over? We thought so at the moment, and then they sucked in that second half. I also think there's something to be said for just playing turnover-free football. The Eagles' offense has not turned it over yet this year. And there's a reason why Nick Sirianni has ball security signs all across the Eagles facility, because they really emphasize that. And when you win the turnover battle at the NFL level, you win about 80% of the games. So I certainly see where the coaches are coming from, because it's worked. And how do you go against that? Because under Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, it's been an effective strategy. But I do wish that there was some more offensive aggression. Just like Vic Fangio this year, not getting as much production from his edge rushers, is blitzing a little bit more to the defense's benefit. Great questions. I always love chopping it up with everybody. And all of our mailbags end up doing very well as far as watch time and overall views. So I'm glad that you like the content as well. Let's talk A.J. Brown here. To his credit, he took accountability for his cryptic tweet after that game on Sunday. The Eagles are 4-0, but it didn't come without any drama. And the A.J. Brown drama has become a constant for this Eagles organization. It's always wide receivers. And if you didn't see the quote that he had tweeted, I believe it's a Bible verse some people have said, if you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way. Now, obviously, when you read something like that, you have the question, who is that directed toward? Well, here's what A.J. Brown had to say. First off, I want to start off by saying, obviously, Sunday after the game, I let my frustrations boil over. I didn't speak to the media. I had a chance to correct my frustrations, and I continued to let it boil over, and that's on me. I take full accountability on that. My message on Twitter wasn't directed at anyone in the building. Not my GM, coaches, not my quarterback. My GM, nobody. I take full accountability. I have open communication with all my coaches and with my quarterback as well. Me and my coaches, Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, we discuss weekly about trying to get this thing on the same page. He also added, I'm a competitor, and I want the ball in some of these big situations. My message to AJ is this. Does anything ever good happen when you send out an emotional tweet or you send out an emotional text when you don't have the opportunity to really sit back, let your feelings marinate, and really think about them? Anytime you send a tweet when you're frustrated or you send a text when you're emotional, never really goes over well because you're acting out on emotion. The other thing with AJ, you're a smart guy. Everybody loves you in that locker room, and you're a very well-spoken, very well-thought-out guy. He has to know and have better awareness and a better feel that in this city, a tweet like that is going to blow up. And it's going to be the marquee talking point for Nick Sirianni when he appears on 94.1 WIP the next morning, and for talk shows all day on WIP, for YouTubers like myself, because it's a big story. We have to talk about it. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, and I'm going to pass along updates when I need to pass along updates because it is a big storyline for one of the best players in the NFL. But you just have to have a better feel. And it's something that continues to happen over and over and over again with AJ. And it's the same repetitive thing. And it's also not a good look when you're 4-0, you win the game against another really good team, and you're popping off on social media. What do you expect to happen? Now, we do have to get to this as well. According to an ESPN report from NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, the Eagles could look to trade A.J. Brown not during this year, but potentially during the 2026 offseason. Here's what Fowler had to report. Some executives I spoke to this week don't expect Philadelphia to trade Brown in season, but said it could be something to entertain in the offseason. It's sort of the worst kept secret inside the league that Brown's love-hate relationship with Philly's passing game bubbles to the surface from time to time. He's a true competitor and wants to be great. With that comes emotion and inevitable frustration. Yeah, Jeremy, we know. Also, we know it's always wide receivers. I will add this. Given the structure of AJ's contract, that comes with a $90 million cap hit. That is a dead cap hit if the Eagles do decide to trade him. But you can soften the financial blow a little bit, and obviously Howie Roseman is a magician with the cap with a post-June 1 trade. But this isn't a move that I'm making. If you can keep him happy and you can keep winning and he keeps producing, why would you get rid of special? The Eagles are 41-10 with AJ all time. Since he came here in 2022, he's been a first-team or second-team All-Pro in all 3 seasons. He's gone over 1,000 yards every year. The Eagles have won a bunch of games, and they've been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and he's a big reason why the offense has had so much success. But I could see why the Eagles could get fatigued with this nonstop drama, because multiple times every year, A.J. Brown will send something out on Twitter and bring about unnecessary drama and distractions. And at what point does that become too much to deal with, where you're like, you know what, let's try to bring another wide receiver in here who acts more like DeVonta Smith, who is low maintenance, and you don't have to worry about these distractions when we're winning football games. I'll leave you with this. Will AJ be on the Eagles in 2026? On or off? I think he will be as of right now. Plenty of season left, but that's my thought on it.